Show of hands, who here is a feminist? Show of hands, raise them high. Okay, all right. So I just want to kind of get a better sense of that one. So those of you who said you're feminist, do you believe that there is a patriarchy? Starting with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Okay, can you guys just tell me what the patriarchy is?
Am I? Sorry.
Yeah, just, I'll always start over here.
Oh, okay. Hierarchy of people and the order of how, people in power are and who is looked at as someone who can have power and who cannot, or who should not be given power. Does that make sense? I didn't explain that very well, but.
Sure, okay, what about you?
I think the word gets overused, but my definition would be that the patriarchy is a societal structure where men are dominant and women are subordinate to men in their gender roles and their expectations and the positions of power that they have access to.
Okay.
I think the patriarchy has been how the world kind of came to be, men and being in power, women always being, like, I won't use the words always, I feel like that's a very strong word, but women usually being not as powerful as men in social structures, the hierarchy of power in like every scenario in like the family and work, everywhere.
Yeah, basically everything they said. It's a hierarchy that puts men in power.
Okay, and so under this hierarchy, under this...
Jeremy donated $200. Back to the bear. You can reason with man. You can't reason with a bear. Enjoyed the bear. Do you think Brian and Andrew do this for a good reason? Don't you see the logic? Grid 1 Motorsports, my bro.
Thank you, Jeremy, man. Appreciate it. Good to see you in the chat, dude. You were a legend on Sunday's show, so good to see you back. Really, very much appreciate your patronage. So under patriarchy, which it seems like you guys assert that it exists, it's a thing. Are women oppressed under the patriarchy? I'll start with you.
It really depends under which one. And
let's just say the U.S.
The U.S.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I think women have been, yes.
Are they currently?
Yes, in many situations, yes.
Okay. I'll get all your answers first. What about you?
In a lot of dimensions, yes, but I think that women in some dimensions do benefit from the patriarchy.
Yeah, I agree with everything they said.
Okay. So under the patriarchy then, if women are oppressed, are men the oppressors? Starting with you.
Not necessarily. It's both genders doing the oppressing when we're under the patriarchy.
Would it be a patriarchy then if it was...
Well, yeah, because women can still oppress other women under a patriarchy. Like,
So
for
if it
example,
was-
an anti-feminist with a feminist.
That would be oppression?
Yeah.
How would that be
Can
oppression?
I just make sure I get this right?
Like an
From your-
anti-feminist making anti-abortion laws, isn't that oppressing women?
How would that be oppressing women?
Wait, Andrew, ask your original question.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, though, it can't be equal between men and women if they're ruling over you and be a patriarchy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would still be women are being oppressed specifically by men.
Yes.
Okay. And an entailment of feminism, you would agree, is that it's women who need to dismantle the patriarchy.
Not necessarily. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but yeah.
Well, if you have an oppressor and they're men and you don't want men to oppress you, then you are trying to strive to get rid of men oppressing you, right?
Yeah, but I feel like the male gender could also help with dismantling the patriarchy.
Yeah, I mean, they could, but they would be then male feminists, right?
Yeah, which we have.
Yeah, so the entailment of feminism is to dismantle the patriarchy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Are men the oppressors?
Are men the oppressors? Is that the question?
Well, if women are oppressed, are the men the oppressors?
They are part of the oppressors, yes.
Okay.
Men are the people in power, so they're the ones that the oppressors, but like she said, women can also uphold that structure.
What about you?
Yeah.
Grid 1 Motorsports donated $200.
Oh my God.
Me. I am the patriarchy. Feminism's purpose is to destroy the nuclear family and is anti-patriarchy. Feminism is the true oppression, and you have all been subjects of it. The patriarchy endures.
All right, thank you, thank you, Grid One Motorsports. He is the patriarch, the patriarchy. So a couple of you answered to this question. Yes, women in the United States are oppressed in certain ways, a couple different ways. I'm curious to learn how. Starting with you.
Well, one would be access to reproductive health.
Okay. Anything else besides that?
I'm sure the rest of the ladies can add on.
Well, do you want to give me at least one more?
One more would be the access to, I don't know.
Do women have
Safe
less?
spaces. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Say that one more time.
The access to safe spaces.
Women have less access than men to safe spaces.
Yes. Yeah.
What are the safe spaces that men have access to that women don't?
Well, a space where you wouldn't be, like, for example, at the doctors, men are a lot more safer than women. Like, when a woman is unconscious, she can legally get a, what's that thing called where,
A hysterectomy?
no, I don't think that is. Where when you're unconscious and they check you for like a pap smear, basically they're getting into your genitalia while you're unconscious. They wouldn't do that to a man. That's one type of thing.
I think I've heard
Yes,
of...
yes, they can.
Yeah.
If you're unconscious at the doctor and you're a man and they need to fix you up, they most definitely can get into your genitalia. I don't know where you got the idea that they couldn't.
No, not if like the issue doesn't have anything to do with your genitalia. They wouldn't get into.
Yeah,
your
but if the issue has nothing to do with your genitalia for a woman, they won't get into your genitalia.
no,
What
but
are
that
you
was
talking
my
about?
point. That was my point. It's they can legally search it up, fact check me.
Yeah, but they can legally do it for both if there's a cause to go there for whatever the medical
Yeah,
issue
but
is if you're
my
unconscious.
my only point was that they can do it, and they do it to women even when there is no cause. I can give you a different example though, which would be like the husband stitch. A lot of women after they give birth, they'll get an extra stitch on their vaginal opening. That makes it so that sex is more pleasurable for their husband right after, which doesn't benefit the woman. If anything, it makes it a lot more complicated to
I've
feel from.
never heard of... I've never heard of
Well,
this.
hang on. I'm just going to
That's
assume
a
that it's true
very
for a
common thing.
second. So what? What if this is requested by the woman?
But that's the thing. It's not requested by the woman. A lot of doctors do it without even asking the woman.
That's
Yeah.
dubious. That's
Search
dubious.
it up, please. Do you want to search
I'm
it up?
sure it's
She's
happened.
right. It's true.
You're saying that there's a majority of women
I never
who,
said the word majority. I said there's a good amount of women who get that. It's called the husband stitch. That's why it has
without
a
their
name.
consent.
Yes.
This
yeah.
seems dubious. I would like to hear from perhaps a nurse or someone who's involved in the
Ask
healthcare field.
Google.
It can't be without your
I'm
consent.
sure
Wouldn't
it's
you be able
happened.
to sue?
This
if that
seems
happened?
very dubious.
No, because they're already stitching you up. They just add an extra stitch. It's
Yeah,
called
but
the husband stitch. You guys can search
It also
up.
doesn't happen. The husband stitch, also known as daddy stitch, is an outdated medical practice that involves an extra stitch during vaginal repair after childbirth. The procedure is not medically necessary. The idea behind the husband stitch is it makes sex more pleasurable. It's only available on request.
No, it's not. I know people who have had it. I have aunts who have had it. That's why I know.
Okay,
it.
so
I'm
your
sh-
aunts are a lot older than you, right?
Yeah, I never said
Okay,
that
so
doctors
could
are
it be
doing this on a
possible
day-to-day
that this
basis.
no longer, hang on, so this could be possible that it no longer is standard operating procedure, even if it was for your aunts?
Yeah, that's very possible that it's not as common anymore. Yeah.
I have
The
a
husband
friend who
stitch
has
is
had it.
rarely performed in the United States. Healthcare providers should never perform it without a woman's consent. It goes against medical ethics.
She just said she had a friend who's had it, so that kind of.
Yeah.
But do
Well,
they
I mean,
suggest?
I think that she's not telling us the truth.
Do they-
So all of my friends haven't had it. Oh, now we have counter evidence, huh?
Did they ask for it?
No, it has been like a legal battle in between them, but like that has happened, and that was recent. But that is
fucking
like
right.
obviously.
Your friend did not get the husband stitch. You're full of shit. It's basically never done unless it's on request. You made it up. It's an anecdote that you made up. You could never demonstrate your friend had the husband stitch and is in a legal battle. If you could do, you know what? I'll tell you what. If you can demonstrate that you have a friend that you know who had the husband stitch against their will, I'll send you $250 right now.
Call your friend up.
I will not do. I don't need to prove that
Yeah,
though. But
all
that's
right, I didn't
just
think so.
odd.
I have a question. I'm wondering what Andrew and
Jesus.
Brian, like what you guys think about the patriarchy.
Well, hold on. I'm not done with my question, so we can perhaps answer that later. But I did want to go around. So you gave 2 examples of how women are
Yeah, I gave
oppressed.
3. Yeah.
Can you give any examples of how women are oppressed?
I think in workspaces, sometimes at school, I feel like it's just like, I'm not sure if it's like, how can I put this into words? Like the oppression of, just like sometimes this like speech, like having like fear of speaking up because you don't know how people will react, keeping quiet in like workspaces, things like that, like how the system has like pretty much like created this, I don't know, like, how do I say this? Like this like sphere, this like kind of bubble like pushes us down more than men. I feel like it's not encouraging to women to like step up sometimes and like just be more open and things.
I feel like
By the way,
today's-
Brian, I want to let you know, just an update on this. Conducting the husband stitch is considered malpractice. All doctors, other healthcare workers can be sued for performing this surgery. It's considered malpractice. Literally
Okay.
considered malpractice. It is not a thing which women are subject to.
Even with consent, it would be malpractice?
Unless it's with specifically a woman's
Okay.
consent, which in that case, why would they have a problem with it?
Right. Okay. So women feeling like they can't openly speak, or that would be oppression. But that would be how you feel. Like, I'm looking for something a bit more concrete. I could also change the question a little bit. What is a right that men have that women don't? Because, I mean, feminism fights for women's rights. It's not clear to me if there's any rights that men have that women don't.
I don't think it's necessarily rights. I think it's more of like being treated equally.
Are women not treated equally?
Not really.
Could I answer this, or could I speak
Sure,
on it?
go
So I was researching about the origins of patriarchy, which is a system. So patriarchy, it started back when they were making civilization, and people who had the most wealth were people who could get the most food, and that was men. So men were able to.
Men have a faster metabolism.
No. Well, the men were getting the most food for their civilization, so they were getting the most wealth. I have it on my
Wait.
phone.
They
I have
still
it
are.
saved. Yeah, I know.
They still are.
I know. Yeah. I'm just saying, just let me finish my point. So patriarchy is a system that's been started ever since then. But feminism is sort of like the way to catch up. So back in the day, women could not vote. Women could not do a lot of the.
Neither could men. For the vast majority of all human history, neither men or women could vote.
Women could vote. That's correct.
There's a very, very small, comparatively speaking, a very small portion of history where men were able to vote and women weren't. But if you look at the whole scale of human history, neither people could vote.
Okay,
It would be.
okay.
It would either be you would have a monarch,
Mm-hmm.
or there would be like this royalty, or there was a period where it'd be property owners.
Sure. Okay. So in the United States, the first feminist was like Abigail Adams. She said, if we don't get the same rights, like a rebellion's going to happen. Basically, she wrote that to her husband. And so patriarchy is a system. Feminism is like a movement. So I do think that the feminists in the past have done a lot, and we've gotten a lot of our rights, and they're bound by law.
That was
So-
not the first feminist at all, not even close.
No. Also,
The
Plato was the one who said, "Could I continue,
no,
please?
Plato
Could I
wasn't either.
continue,
But hang
please?"
on, let me correct this. Dubois directly contradicted this. When you're talking about the first wave feminists, which came out of Russia especially, their idea was
I was talking about in the United
nuclear
States, and I
family.
could back that up by research. I was talking about in the United States by multiple research. I could back that up. That Abigail Adams was the first person.
No,
Okay.
no,
written
that's not
down.
even true.
But
Even
I'm
here.
not,
So what's your
we haven't
point?
even
Just
gotten to
make
my
your
point.
point. Just make
my
your point.
point is that patriarchy is a system. Feminism is a movement. So feminism has caught like females up to males to a certain point, but there's still underlying things that are still happening. And like, I don't think that females are oppressed. I don't call myself a feminist. I think that we have gained all our same rights, but I do think that patriarchy is still a system that still has its underlying layers in the way that we govern ourselves. That's
I
my
do want to
opinion.
just point out one thing when it came to the right to vote, and this is speaking within the United States. Only a 50-year period passed between the ratification of the 15th Amendment, which gave all men the right to vote in 1870, and the 19th Amendment in 1920. So 50 years. There's only 50 years in America that all men could vote, that women could not. Jeremy says, do you know how many DV shelters are accessible to men in U.S.? 0. We need to bridge the gap to make progress. I don't want my daughter to live in a world like this. Plato, he dead. I'm assuming. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate that. Really quick. Just going around the table, I think I was asking the question, how are women oppressed?
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
What's your motive in asking us this?
Because we want to probe the worldview to see if we have potential disagreements with your worldview.
Okay. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that at least you and I don't agree on a lot of things, but that's fine. I would say that the traditional view of feminism that many people have, that the idea is the movement for women to have the same rights, to be viewed as equal to men in the eyes of society, would be like a pretty generic view of feminism. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that I saw one of those comments pop up on the screen that was talking about how men don't have access to, I think it was DV shelters. I think they meant domestic violence.
Yep.
And I think that's a really good point. I think that there's plenty of ways that men, I think oppressed would be a strong word to use, considering that we're looking at this in the context of the patriarchy. But I would say that there's plenty of ways that men are underrepresented and that men could use a little bit of help in maybe the eyes of society or the law, or however you want to say it in terms of gender roles in society.